Hey, one and all. Hope you all having a lovely night. So, I decided actually for this opinion piece, I decided to actually just play some casual games with a potential upcoming deck that I'm brewing for a deck tech video. Mostly just to be a little bit casual and just have some fun in general while talking about some opinions about current day in Magic, which today it's been a bit of a rough day to say at the very least. So, without any shortness, let's just introduce it. First things first, let's just talk about the standard bannings. Now, with the standard bannings, I think Uro was kind of the no-brainer. It is. I am legit grateful they banned Uro. Uro was kind of a frustrating card to play against. So the fact that they did ban that card allows at least potential for people to actually play with other decks and such. And it could potentially be competitive against make decks that have potentially be competitive against the Omnath deck. Though that is a legit kind of like saying that in quotation marks, if I'm being legit honest with you. I think while I'm happy with the Earl ban, I still kind of wish, as many people did, wish that there was like either one or two more cards that were banned. Now, there is always the cynical approach where people, when they talk about this, they're like, oh, they're not going to ban the money card, yada 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 yada. I know. They're not going to ban a card when it just recently released in paper. Yes, I know. But I do kind of understand that also from a new player perspective, where a lot of people would kind of feel a little bit bad if they do open the prize kind of like Mythic and then it gets banned and they can't play it. Though that kind of is hard to justify, especially since a lot of people currently are playing Standard. Yes, there are people who are playing Standard other places in the world, but for a lot of people who are still affected by the pandemic, let's just be frank, most people are, if they're playing Magic, they're playing it through Arena as we're playing through it now. So the excuse, while it's understandable, there is also another time. There's another part of it where you kind of look at that and you're like, really? Yeah. So, like, I kind of wish the Omnath deck was hit a little bit more. If I'm being legit honest with myself, I think the bans will affect the Omnath deck, but I don't think it will affect it quite enough. And I think the reason why a lot of people, when they saw this announcement, were frustrated. I think the primary frustration, honestly, is kind of like a read the room kind of situation, where mostly it's like this. For people who don't know, previously before Standard rotated, a lot of the most popular decks in the format have been kind of like ramp multicolored deck shenanigans. So like stuff like Bant with Teferian Uro, there's stuff like Insultai with Hydrate Crisis and Uro, etc, etc, etc. But the thing is, it's like we were hoping with a new meta that, oh, things are going to be different. We're going to try out some new stuff. Meta will change. There will be a lot more available new archetypes, etc, etc, etc. The problem is that kind of didn't happen. It was more a sense that mostly what happened was, well, legit honestly here, mostly the decks that were popular were just the... You know what? I think I'm going to be a little bit big brain here and just name Arboreal Graze, or not Arboreal Grazer. What's the name? Do we just want to name Migratory Greathorn? Or do we just want to name Roiling Vortex? Actually, let's view the battlefield here. Yeah, let's name Roiling Vortex. There is also an argument that we should probably name Gem Razor. But anyway, we do get a little bit of our life gain back, which is nice. But yeah, it's just kind of one of those where, as I was stating before, the most popular decks before rotation were just the multi-color kind of like ramp decks. And that does make sense to a basic extent. Like, yeah, the decks that will probably be the most popular are the ones that legit prioritize, okay, so what are they going to destroy here? All that glitters, or are they going to destroy the Vortex? Or the... It would be interesting to see what they destroy here. They're thinking. But yeah, it's just like, it makes sense that multicolored decks, ramp decks, were very powerful late in the format. Because there's a lot of powerful cards, they were all powerful, there's stuff like Growth Spiral, etc, etc. And it just made sense that those were the popular decks at the moment, so to speak. But I guess the primary frustration and the thing that I was kind of frustrated with when I was thinking about it a little bit over it, it's just the fact of, oh yeah, we are so naming Gym Razor when we get the chance. Okay. Yeah, I think the best play here is just to play this out, flicker this, not attack in for obvious reasons, and just name Gym Razor. But yeah, it's just mostly, I think when people were seeing the new meta, they were hoping things would be kind of different. And the problem is, things were kind of different. The problem is, though, the most dominant decks in the format were just the 4-color Omnath decks, so we went from a multicolor ramp deck being the most powerful deck in the format to then, yet again, a multicolor deck being the most popular deck in the format. It's just... You kind of see where a lot of people were just a little bit peeved, I guess, for lack of a better word. You know what? I'm kind of surprised they didn't just mutate on the Gym Razor just so to destroy the Blue Halo. Also, while we're at it, another card they should really consider banning is Scoot Swarm because of shenanigans like this, especially if they're considering making it going into a mobile client. Just a food for thought there. You know, as much as I like the little bug, I'll be honest, I do like this jank, but I will admit, if they are trying to put this on a mobile client, there's just no way. There is no way. Our opponent realizes we have protection from Gym Razor, right? Uh-huh. Really, all we need to draw is just a Shadow in the Sky, and we should be good. Yeah, opponent's not reading the card, and they'll be like, oh, whoops. Well, if they have another mutate, we're dead, but we'll see. We can't attack in for obvious reasons. Mostly we're just delaying and hoping that we get a Shadow in the Sky. That's kind of what we're hoping here. But yeah, it's just kind of a case where I think I'm just going to keep my opinion to the meta. While the other frustration was the Walking Dead thing, I kind of don't want to go into detail on that because, honestly, a lot of people already expressed their 2 cents on it, and I think a lot of people are going to elaborate their frustration on it. For me, the quick 2 cents is, I just really don't like the precedent that product sets, personally. But I think the product itself is more supposed to be, at least initially designed as just a beginner product. It's supposed to be for people who are into The Walking Dead and try to either buy it as a collector product or maybe just start playing the game through just their favorite character or some shit. Which, honestly, that brings a whole nother issue with the fact that one of the characters is, well, let's just say a very controversial character, and that's a whole nother can of worms. It's just... Oy. Yeah, so my quick 2 cents on that one is... Yeah, just pretty much... Okay, we gotta mill these both. It's just, I don't like the precedent sense, but if many people are going to go introduce the magic through that set, I'm not going to... What's the word? I'm not going to be kind of like the jerk and be like, oh, you can't play this because of the bad precedent set. Like, if a lot of people are going to play starting Magic out through those, making commander decks out of those cards, or just playing kitchen table Magic with it, that's perfectly fine. There is still the controversy of the characters and such that they chose for it and such, and maybe just the controversy precedent of the fact that these are new cards going through Secret Lair within a limited time product, even though they did try to backtrack and say, hey, we can reprint these if we need to, don't worry about it. And I will say, at least for the cards themselves, at least from what I've seen, the cards look perfectly fine. They don't look like... a lot of people are worried because they are worried that they were going to be legacy broken cards, or they were going to be very powerful commanders or such. And honestly, the power level on the cards are relatively, at least the ones we've seen so far, have been low. Like, they've been good. I would say that would be fun casual brews. A lot of people have been talking about the Negan card, how it could be used in the Mardu Aristocrats deck. And while that is true, I think a lot of people who do play that deck will just play it casually. And I think, so you don't have to worry about the controversy of that, you could just... there is proxies. You could just do proxies. Like, a lot of people will probably make a proxy out of that, just as retaliation against the precedent that the cards, that this whole secret lair kind of sets. So, yeah. I said I wasn't going to talk about the secret rail, but I guess I talked about the secret lair. So, yeah. It's been kind of it's been a day for Magic, I'll say that. It's been a day. But nevertheless, I will say, one of my best advice I would give in general for people who are kind of like frustrated and such, sometimes my best advice is just, when you have days where Magic frustrates you, and yeah, there are days where Magic is going to frustrate you. I mean, there's been many days currently where Magic has been frustrating. I think it's safe to say. But I think my best approach, I will say, is just be the better person in the end of it. Just tell Watsu your opinion on the current issue of standards. Just be nice about it. A lot of people kind of get into this little cocky mentality where they're like, oh, if I designed it Magic, this one, blah, 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 blah. Just be considerate. Balancing the game is really, really tricky. That being said, yes, still voice your concerns with standard. Like, the fact is, a lot of people are going to voice my concerns, like I said. Yeah, 4-color Omnath is something you need to really keep an eye on, because, oh boy, when that deck goes off, that deck goes off. So, yeah. But be considerate, but also be critical, but be considerate. Like, don't be a jerk when critiquing developers and such, and don't do jerkish actions for it. I understand the frustration, I understand it, trust me, but just try to be patient and such. That's really the best response I could say with that. Oh boy, our opponent hasn't really drawn a mutate card yet. Well, that works. Works itch, so to speak. We'll just swing in with the life linker. But, yeah, just voice your concerns. And also, I would say, voice your concerns with the whole secret lair thing. Like, if you think that the product is not healthy for the game, still voice your concerns and just let WotC know that. But do it in respectable course. Like, as I say for people who are probably going into the game through using this Walking Dead promo theme, if people want to play Commander with those cards, don't be like a jerk. Just, especially if they're like a new player, so just be considerate is all I'm just going to say with that. As well as just when critiquing the developers and such, yet again, same thing applies, just be considerate, but still, let them know your unfortunate frustrations with the current health of the game. That cannot be understated. Still, it's definitely been kind of one of those weird days. But I will say, I guess my best advice when you have frustrating days like this, remember, you can still, as frustrating as Magic gets some days, and trust me, this has been a year where Magic has been very, very frustrating, there are still kind of admirable or at least fun things about Magic. Like, you can still do jank like this. Like, I've been having fun even though I still have to go against the 4-color Omnath or some of the more broken cards that came from Zendikar Rising currently at the moment. The fact that that negates Favorable Passage is so hilarious. Anyway, what was it saying? But yeah, we still have to deal with the factor of Scoot Swarm. This has been a really silly game. As much as I'm trying to be serious with the issues here, this is kind of the most silliest game to actually talk about the issues with, I'm not gonna lie. And the thing is, we just need to draw a Shatter the Sky, and we pretty much, I won't say we win the game, but we are in good standings if we do. And yet, I'm gonna say this again, if they do release this with mobile, they really have to consider banning at least specific cards for the mobile client, like Scoot Swarm or any mass token producers. Because this is going to struggle on mobile. I'm just... Like, maybe with the exception of maybe a really powerful tablet, but on a mobile phone, this is just going to be like a... Oh, I cannot imagine. I can't remember if this is coded on Unity or on Unreal, but I can imagine just transferring the SDK to the mobile client and then them testing it with this game condition and being like... slowing the game down to a ridiculous halt. But yeah. I would say, just like I said before, sometimes the best approach when you have frustration days is sometimes escape, and sometimes you just have to escape with a different game. Like, sometimes maybe you need to play a different game and such and just... Or maybe do something else, like read a book. Just sometimes you can take a break from Magic, and if you need to take a break, you just probably just have to take a break. But even then, if Magic has frustration moments, sometimes the best way to approach it is just... Remember, you don't always have to be competitive when playing Magic. Sometimes you can just play silly Jank. I'm having fun with Jank, even though I have to go through shenanigans like this, but so far it's just been fun. Like, I have to admit, this meta, while it has its frustration decks, I'm not gonna lie, there was also some moments where it's just kind of fun to play, so... This game's so silly. I mean, if this is not any justification of how Landfall can be a little bit silly currently in Standard, I don't know what is. Though, I do have to admit, I'm kind of loving this secretly, if I'm being honest. Okay, so we're going to draw a card, see what we get here. Well, Zerda is not bad, but doesn't really solve the issue. Let's read this. Target creature. So it's a target creature. It's not all creatures of a specific type. That would have been lovely if that was the case, but that is definitely not the case here. Nice. Also just going to attack in with 2-1, just to get a little bit of life. Like I said, the minute the opponent mutates the Gem Razor, destroying the Rune Halo, we are in a pickle. But really, we just need to draw either A, an Undo version, or B, a Shattered Sky. But did we already draw that? No, we haven't drawn that yet, so... Okay, that's an Essence Symbiote. That's not a mutate target. And they played their only one spell this turn. They're probably going to crack it, get into the forest, just to filter the deck a little bit, hopefully draw into a mutate card, and just make more creatures. So yeah, they play their forest, go through all the landfall triggers. We might actually go into a draw, potentially. I kind of want to keep this video short. I kind of wish I can get this to its conclusion, but I do think I have to cut the video short for kind of like making sure to upload it. Nevertheless, I'll try to post a screenshot on Twitter how this game resolves if I can. Nevertheless, I hope you all have a lovely night. This is Lev Dev signing out. The standard.